Hello and welcome. This is Faceless Opinion, craving a Bloody Mary. Welcome you back to another video. Halloween is upon us, and I've decided to talk about something horror related, or horror adjacent. I mean, it makes sense to do so since it is spooky season after all. Not to mention, there's been one topic that I've been wanting to make a video on for the past few years, but never got around to doing that. Changes today, as we will be discussing the Halloween-themed expansion pack for Infamous 2, Infamous Festival of Blood. Alright, Festival of Blood came out on October 25th, 2011, serving as the DLC for Infamous 2, which came out earlier that year, costing $9.99 at launch, but currently can be purchased for $4.99. However, if you have PlayStation Plus, you can download it for free. The premise of the story is extremely straightforward. Vampires have invaded New Marais and have taken Cole and used his blood for the resurrection of their leader, Bloody Mary. Yes, that is her actual name. And as a result, she turns him into a vampire, giving him only one night to find and kill her and save the city. Otherwise, he will remain a vampire and be under Bloody Mary's control forever. Now, to emphasize, Festival of Blood is non-canon. For those who do not know what that means, simply put, the events of this story is not connected, influenced, nor referenced from other titles in the series. It is a standalone, a what-if, which does make sense as you can poke many holes in how and when this story would take place during Infamous 2, such as the absence of certain characters such as Quo, Nyx, and the Rebels, all of whom I would argue would be helpful in dealing with a vampire infestation. What about enemy groups like the Militia and Corrupted? They would also be MIA as well. Though speaking of the Militia, I do not see an authoritarian like Bertrand allowing Pyre Night, the festival that the game takes place during, to happen. Which also leads into, would Cole choose to partake in Pyre Night knowing full well that the beast is coming? No, well, he would because the vampires would be a clearer problem, but still. Don't get me started on how he's able to use certain powers that he should not have access to, like rockets and ionic storm, until he goes to the next island, which is inaccessible during this time, but is unable to use other abilities like kinetic pulse, ionic vortex, etc. Now, why am I bringing all this up? There are some people out there who try to argue the canonicity of Festival of Blood, giving out their explanations like the RFI didn't kill the conduits and Cole survived, or vampires are real because at the end of the DLC, the girl Zeke was talking to had vampire fangs. While the truth is, this is just a non-canon story. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because it's not considered canon doesn't take anything away from it. Quite the opposite, as Festival of Blood does add its fair share of things. We get some new powers which make sense due to Cole being turned into a vampire. He ends up getting some new vampiric abilities such as Shadow Swarm and Vampire Sense. Shadow Swarm is a traversal ability that turns Cole into a flock of bats and lets him travel through the air. Using this ability, it drains from Cole's newly acquired blood gauge. In order to refill it, you can either stake other vampires or drink blood from civilians. Now, some might ask, wouldn't draining a person of their blood give you evil karma? Well, in Festival of Blood, karma is not a thing. Though you can make an argument that vampires are inherently evil creatures, and as a result your karma automatically becomes evil due to the fact that you are a vampire. So, drink as many people as you want. It doesn't matter. If anything, it's encouraged. As Shadow Swarm is a very useful skill, as you get an ability later on that can let you stake vampires while using it, one-shotting them. The other new power we get is Vampire Sense, which allows Cole to track vampires, find hidden locations, and locate collectibles. It has some similarities to Cole's Psychic Vision power he had in the first game. If you don't remember what that ability is, I made a video talking about it, something to check out later. Nudge nudge, wink wink. On the subject of collectibles, there are two you can gather, those being Canopic jars, which allow you to increase the capacity of your blood gauge. They function like blast shards essentially. Then we have Bloody Mary's teachings, which serve as dead drops, where you can learn more about Bloody Mary. Overall, this DLC is very short when it comes to its story, but does have something to prolong the gameplay. User-generated content, or UGC for short, in which players can make custom missions and share them, a feature that was very prominent in Infamous 2 and would be carried over into its related DLC. However, they did tweak it a little bit with the inclusion of comic book cutscenes, which I consider a massive positive, as those were not a thing in Infamous 2. Though one issue with UGC in Festival of Blood is that it does not have access to all the assets available in Infamous 2, meaning no militia, corrupted, ice gang, and other characters from it, as well as not being able to make use of the second island, relegating us to just fighting vampires in the same locations, which we have been doing so already, limiting creativity. However, something that I never knew until I replayed it recently was the addition of UGC missions connected to the main story, as there are two UGC missions made by Sucker Punch themselves, called Blood Conduits and Animals. This had to have been added at a later time because for the life of me, I do not remember them when I played Festival of Blood when it came out. To give context for these missions, in Blood Conduits, Cole mentions the idea that vampires are a special type of conduit, with both Cole and Zeke referring to them as blood conduits. However, it is left ambiguous whether or not the vampires are conduits due to certain abilities they have access to are not really explained, such as their immortality and vampiric senses, while in the mission Animals, it gives tension between Cole and Zeke as Zeke finds out Cole has been drinking people and he is not okay with that, which is understandable, but he helps him nonetheless as he doesn't want his best friend to become Bloody Mary's slave, and continues on with the proper story missions from there. Overall, they were okay additions. Personally, I think you can make do without them, but that's just me. Though the talk of vampires being conduits is quite interesting. Comment down below what you think about that. Do you think it has merit? Festival of Blood, without question, is a wacky adventure. It is such a drastic pivot compared to all the other entries in the series, because let's not forget that the entire story of this expansion is a story Zeke made up trying to impress a woman he met at the bar, in which vampires are trying to take control of New Marais, and they only have a single night to stop them and save Cole from being Bloody Mary's, and I quote, sailor bitch, because I kid you not, Bloody Mary made a remark about wanting to dress Cole up as a sailor. This is completely batshit, pun intended. Now, I just want to state this clearly, just because I call this wacky and a little out there, I do not think this is a bad DLC. Quite the opposite. Festival of Blood is great. I just look at it through a different lens. Compare this to First Light, the DLC expansion for Second Son. They're both good DLCs, but they are vastly different. Apples and oranges, which is why I will never make a video comparing the two like I did for the mainline games. First Light has a very serious and emotional story behind it, while Festival of Blood is quirky and zany. Now, does it make it immune to criticism? No. One objective problem I have with it is the main villain. I don't like Bloody Mary. I think she is hands down one of the worst villains in the series. She lacks character. Her only defining trait is that she is a vampire. That's it. She is very boring. Her teachings, which you can find across the map, are uninteresting as she talks about eating people the whole time. She's also not that intelligent. She gave Cole tips and tricks to better understand his vampire sense, which made him better at finding and staking firstborns. You know, her loyal subjects. Then we get to the barbed cross. So this is a holy item that can destroy vampires, and Cole obviously wants it because he can use it against Bloody Mary. However, she gets possession of it. Now, how do you think she prevents Cole from trying to get it? By having one of her firstborns flying around the city guarding it. And that's it. Guess what? Cole killed it and got the cross. If she didn't want Cole to get it, why, she could have just thrown it in the water. He would have never gotten it, and even if he had, Zeke wouldn't have time to go get it. Time would have been up. Bloody Mary would have had Cole as her slave. This is the biggest fumble I have ever seen. My God. I think she might be worse than Augustine. Wait, is she? Guys, this is not part of the script. I'm speaking off the cuff. Bloody Mary might be a worse antagonist than Augustine. And if you know me and have seen my other Infamous content, you know that I believe Augustine is horrendous. Holy crap. My mind is blown. Let's wrap up, shall we? Festival of Blood is a memorable experience. It is very fun, and it's definitely something you should play, or play again. I kind of wish that more game series would have something similar to this, with them experimenting with their DLCs and doing something out of left field. Like, for example, we have Red Dead Redemption, Undead Nightmare, or Sleeping Dogs had Nightmare on North Point. Doesn't have to be horror related. What about alternate history? In Assassin's Creed 3, they had the Tyranny of King Washington. Or it could be its own thing altogether, like Far Cry 3 having Far Cry Blood Dragon. There are so many possibilities of what can be done. Like, DLCs can be whatever you want them to be. They don't have to be connected with the main story. You can have something stand alone. I think it can make for more interesting content. Anywho, tell me, what do you think? What do you think about Festival of Blood? Do you think that vampires are actually conduits? What are your thoughts about Bloody Mary? Should video games do more crazier ideas for their DLCs? Tell me in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, I will catch you all on the flip side.